There doesn't seem to be a penalty for this. Should there be a penalty?
Well, ultimately, the penalty should come in 2019, where Canadians vote out a Liberal government that has allowed this culture of entitlement to set in, where Liberal ministers feel that it's up to them to interpret the rules, that they get to decide what definitions are. That's not the Conservative way, that's not the Conservative approach, and the best way to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future is to elect a Conservative government.
2019 is quite a ways away. The way it's written, there is no penalty. Should there be a penalty, and would you put a penalty in there if you were government?
Well, that's something that we that we could absolutely look at. The penalty in the past, when ministers were found breaking conflict of interest rules and other types of things, was for them to either resign or to have the Prime Minister remove them. Of course, when you have the Prime Minister himself being found guilty of conflict of interest laws, and that doesn't happen, then of course it doesn't seem to be happening to other ministers as well. So the traditional method of holding ministers to account doesn't seem to apply to this government. So we can absolutely have those types of conversations. But ultimately, the best way to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future is by electing a Conservative government.
Are you asking that the minister resign?
I have no expectation that will happen. As I said, the fact that it's clear that the Prime Minister didn't resign when he was found guilty of breaking these rules. The Minister of Finance himself didn't resign when he was found to have breached these types of rules. So we have no expectation that somehow they'll start applying this now. But that being said, we condemn the fact that this is the type of government that exists now, that they've allowed this type of culture to set in. And as I said, the best way to ensure that this doesn't happen in the government of Canada in the future is to elect a Conservative government in 2019.
So, in your opinion, what should be the punishment for this, or the sanction? Well, this is an issue for the Liberals. Only the Liberals believe that they have the power to decide and to interpret the definitions found in the laws and in the acts. There is a conflict of interest, a commissioner, and they said that these people are there to make sure that people don't break the law. I know that Canadians want a government that is not trying to find a situation where they can skate close to the line, but rather that they toe the line, that they not be too close to it. So should there be a punishment, Mr. Scheer? You're not really answering this question. Well, of course, it's obvious that it's a good discussion that should be had. What should be the penalty? If you have a government who's not respecting the traditions of government, if we look at our history, each time other ministers in positions such as these ones, they have to assume responsibility for their actions. The Liberal ministers are not doing this, so perhaps we should have a conversation on this. So, but you're not asking for punishment. Well, I have no expectations in this regard. The Prime Minister himself did not step down when he was found in a breach or in contravention of the rules, and so the Minister of Finance, same thing. So this is a culture. It's a culture that has been created by Justin Trudeau himself for the ministers in his government. So they have to look at this. But if you have a Conservative government in 2019, this won't be the case.